Hi everyone, my name is Lauren, and today I'm going to be answering my most commonly asked questions about what to expect in architecture school. As someone who spent 7 years in school, doing 5 years at Cornell for my Bachelor of Architecture and 2 years at Harvard getting my Master of Architecture in Urban Design, I feel definitely qualified to answer these questions. Today I'm going to help you understand what laptop you need. Do you need to know how to draw? Do you need to be good at math? And is it true that architecture students have no life outside of studio? These are all based on my experience, but if you're curious about architecture school, considering going, or a little bit scared and don't know what to expect, this video is for you, so definitely keep watching. And I'm gonna start with one of the most expensive decisions you'll probably make before starting school. Okay, question number 1, what laptop do you need to buy for architecture school? First, definitely check the technology requirements for your school specifically. Most architecture schools have published online what they recommend for students coming in, so that'll be helpful for when you go and buy the laptop. Architecture students use their laptops for a lot of different drafting and modeling softwares, so making sure that your laptop has a lot of processing power to balance multiple different softwares at once is the most important. I would prioritize at least 16 gigabytes of RAM, but 32 is much better if it is within your budget. A dedicated graphics card and as much storage as possible because these programs and drawings take up a lot of space. Also, when choosing between a PC and Mac, I would just keep in mind that a lot of architecture programs don't run on Macs, so I personally would recommend a PC. I do know people that have made it through architecture school with a Mac, but just to be safe, I personally would stay away from that to make sure that all the software that you need can run properly. Not that you can't use them, but just there are limitations. My personal laptop is here she is. I have a Microsoft Surface Book. Got this in 2023 and it has served me very well since then. So if you are okay with spending a bit more money, Surface Books are where they're at. Because of the need for processing power, a lot of students also go with gaming computers because those typically can run a lot of programs at the same time. But in general, the best architecture school laptop is not necessarily the most expensive one, but it's the one that can run all the programs that you need with the fewest amount of issues doing so. Question 2 is, do I need to know how to draw? You do not need to be an amazing artist to study architecture, but drawing is definitely part of the curriculum. I actually grew up wanting to be an artist before I wanted to be an architect, so I came into architecture school already with an interest in drawing, and most of the portfolio that I used to apply to architecture school in undergrad was sketches and paintings and other forms of visual art like that. But that's not necessarily an admissions requirement, and you don't necessarily need to come in already being a really skilled artist. Architecture school is meant to teach you different methods of visual communication, and drawing is one of them, but it is not the only one. Especially first year, a lot of architecture curriculums do drafting by hand and also encourage you to do freehand sketching to get familiar with that skill. But the goal isn't to have super pretty, pristine drawings. The goal is to be able to visually represent the building and the spatial idea as clear as possible. So you don't have to be naturally gifted at drawing, but you do have to be comfortable and good at expressing your ideas visually. My biggest piece of advice for people that aren't artists or don't know a lot about drawing is to just start sketching as much as you can and as frequently as you can, especially in high school when you're preparing your application to go into architecture school. A rough 10-second sketch can sometimes be more useful than a super pristine drawing or a form of writing like a paragraph. It can get the essence of an idea or the essence of a building down super quickly, but it's not necessarily about knowing how to draw photorealistically. Curiosity, creativity, and problem solving, and a willingness to learn will carry you much further than being able to draw like a photograph. So you don't need to arrive as an artist, but you need to be willing to learn how to communicate like a designer. Question number 3 is, do I need to be good at math? I was definitely scared of this coming into architecture school because I am not really a STEM girly. I was definitely drawn more to the creative side of architecture rather than the structural physics and math side of architecture. But I made it through, and so can you. You will use math in architecture school, but it's not like you're going to be solving complex calculus problems every design project. The math that comes up is almost always practical, understanding dimensions, scale, proportion, geometry, area, volume, and basic structural concepts. You need to be able to measure accurately and understand how different parts of a building come together proportionally and be able to represent those dimensions and proportions precisely in your architectural drawings. You'll probably also take classes like structures, building systems, and environmental systems that include more calculations and physics. But this is not an engineering degree. Your primary role will be to design. Of course, you need to know how the structure of the building works, but like I said, you're not an engineer, you're an architect. You don't need to be a math genius going into school. You just need to be willing to learn the math that helps you make buildings safe and functional. It's a tool that architects use, but it's not the entire profession. Okay, and my last question is, will I have no life outside of architecture school? I get this question a lot because it is super common on TikTok or YouTube to see architects getting no sleep, pulling all-nighters, asking each other how much sleep they got as if it's some kind of competition. I am living proof that you do not need to pull all-nighters to get through architecture school. I didn't pull a single one until well into grad school, so I had already been in architecture school for 5-6 years at that point. And while it is true that architecture is a very demanding major, I do think that it's a bit exaggerated how intense the lack of sleep is. The idea that you need to sacrifice your health, your sleep, your relationships, your life outside of school is a myth. You will ultimately choose what your priorities are once you get to school. And I'm the biggest advocate for prioritizing your health even more when the semester starts getting really intense and when your workload starts getting really intense. I also think there's an element of peer pressure that comes with studio culture of wanting to stay in studio late at night because your peers are doing the same thing. And to a certain extent, I do think that builds community within architecture, but it is at the end of the day optional. If you have good time management skills and you know how to manage your workload, being in studio until 4 or 5 a.m. every night is not a requirement. You'll learn to balance knowing when a project genuinely needs more work and you need to put the time into it versus when you're continuing because you're afraid to stop, you're afraid it's not good enough, you're afraid because your peers are still there. You will learn to set those boundaries for yourself. Architecture school will demand a lot from you, but it's not the only thing that defines you, and it won't take over your life if you don't let it. Those are the 4 questions that I get most frequently, but obviously I know there's so many more that come up when you're considering going to architecture school. So let me know what questions you want me to answer next, whether that's choosing between the 5-year Bachelor of Architecture or the Master of Architecture, building a portfolio, paying for supplies, learning software, or deciding whether you want to go to architecture school in the first place. And subscribe for more architecture school advice, portfolio breakdowns, and to see my life as an architect in DC. Budding architect, I should say. That's all I have for today. See you in the next video.